Welcome to MacBreak Weekly, episode 177, a very exciting episode. We are going to go directly to the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts in San Francisco, where Steve Jobs has just announced the iPad. Our live reaction next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 177 for January 27th, 2010, iPad. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account, go to squarespace.com/MacBreak. And by GoToMeeting. Picture yourself on a phone call, sharing and explaining something visual with GoToMeeting. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. And by GoToMyPC, the safe way to access your PC remotely that's as secure as online banking. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomypc.com/MacBreak. This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 177. We're live from in front of the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, where just a few minutes ago, Steve Jobs took the stage and announced a brand new category, really. Not just a new device, but a new category, the iPad. And we're going to do a special MacBreak Weekly today. Back at the studio, say hello. It's Alex Lindsay. Hi, Alex.
Hello. How's it going?
And Alex is running the board, so any mistakes, it's Alex's fault.
That was a preemptive strike. I see how it is. Yeah.
Also with us, Dr. Kiki, Kirsten Sanford. Hi, Kirsten.
Hello, Leo. It's nice to be here.
And of course, on Skype, Merlin, Mann, an original MacBreak Weekly guy. Hey, Merlin.
How's it going, Leo?
It's great. You guys have been holding down the fort while we were all in the auditorium. I hope we were able to get a pretty good picture of that. I mean, it was kind of guerrilla style. But I have to say, Steve looked good. His voice was a little weak. He looked tired and thin, but he did a bang-up job selling what is obviously something that's very important to him, something he's been working on for quite some time.
It looked fantastic. I mean, it really has the fit and finish of a very mature device. You know, it didn't look like it was a version 1 the way we would see it come out from a lot of other applications or a lot of other companies. I mean, they obviously spent what looks like years making sure that it was just right before they pulled the trigger. Well,
and both Phil Schiller and Steve made the point, I think this was a very good point, that this is a device that people already knew how to use. They were building on the success of the iPhone and the iPod Touch. It's the same UI, it's just bigger.
Yeah, and more responsive. It sounded like from your report that you just have a lot more processing power, so you're getting a lot. It's just a lot faster too.
Yeah. Well, in fact, Justine is here. Justine Ezarik. She didn't get into the event.
I didn't, but I did get in to touch the iPad, and it really is like a very large iPod Touch.
Still not hearing it.
There's an experience holding it that doesn't get communicated from watching the stage presentation.
It isn't. It's just. It feels. I mean, it's. I don't even know. I'm like speechless because it was like amazing. You know, it's everything that you would want in a tablet, and it's so smooth. It's just. It really is an experience, which is something that Steve is all about.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that the refinement that Apple does so well is built into this thing, and not only in terms of the user interface, which we're very familiar with, but the fit and finish of the product itself. And you're right. You said an important word: speed.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and I mean it's.
How do you like the screen?
I like it. It's really bright. My biggest concern, though, is which one am I going to buy? Am I going to wait for the 3G or the Wi-Fi? But like we were talking before, you mentioned the MiFi, which if you have a MiFi or a Wi-Fi card, then there's no point in waiting for the 3G.
just in case somehow you missed the details of the announcement, in 60 days, you'll be able to get the first versions of the iPad. By the way, iPad, were you surprised by that name?
A little bit. Like, I was becoming so used to, like, the little tablet or maybe the iSlate. But, I don't think the name's really that important.
It's the obvious name. I'm just I thought, can we move on from I? But then they have an iBookstore, so we're never going to move on.
Yeah, never.
So the iPad will be available in 60 days only in the Wi-Fi version. There are 3 Wi-Fi versions. There's a 16 gigabyte for $499, which is a really relative. Well, $499 isn't really that cheap, but if you've been thinking 1,000 or even 800, it's cheap.
Then it's a great price.
Steve did that, by the way. He put a $999 up, said, this is what everybody's saying, under $1,000. And then he crashed it to the ground, and it was $499.
He really knows how to sell it. He really does.
Always start with a high price, and then the low price seems a lot lower. $499, $599 if you want 32 gigs and 64 gigs, a lot of storage.
Oh, and we lost him there for a second. So I'm sure we'll have them back here in just a second. And through the magic of technology, no one watching the taped version will know anything. They'll just be like, wow, that was so seamless. And
we used to always say that on MacBreak. We used to, as a joke, we talk about fixing it in post. But I think you're really going to need to fix this in post, Alex.
I'm not going to have to fix it.
I think you're going to have to
fire
up the old Final Cut on
this one's going to be a rough
one. No, it breaks your heart, but I think you're going to have to edit.
The iPad naming, I'm still not sure about it.
Well, I just hope they don't make a big one and call it a Maxi.
It's an unfortunate name.
Somebody forwarded a YouTube video from Mad TV. They did an iPad spoof back in 2007. That's kind of
okay.
funny.
And we're going to go back to Leo. Hold on one second.
What would you have named it, Merlin, if you don't like iPad? What's better than iPad?
Oh, I didn't know you could hear me. Gosh, I don't know. I like, I don't know. I gotta, again, I'm Gruber's internet boyfriend. I like iBook. I think iBook would have been a good name. I think iTablet is dumb. And I think iSlate sounds like it's made out of a rock and sounds heavy. iPad is fine. I'm sure I'll get used to it. It's strange that it's so close to iPod, which is something they're not focusing on as much. But maybe there's some kind of like little slip disc in your brain that hears that and is familiar. I don't know.
It just seems like the obvious, isn't it?
What do you think, Leo? Do you like it? Do you like iPad?
I was saying they're not going to use I at all. I had moved on from the notion of I anything.
I like the name.
Now, Dwight Silverman is also here. Dwight Silverman of the Houston Chronicle, blogs.cron.com/techblog.
In fact, I was calling it iPad several weeks ago before the name iSlate came up. I started using that in my blog and then shortly after I did, the stuff about iSlate came out. And I said, okay, I'm wrong. It's not iPad. So I was quite gratified to see iPad. But that Mad TV video was quite funny.
It was really funny, yeah. You were gruntled coming out. You were not impressed.
Well, it's great technology. It is very cool technology. It's a very sleek product. In looking at it, I always try to think, okay, what will the mainstream think about it? We're kind of geeks and we're into this. But is the lady who is in Walmart, who's buying diapers and who kind of lives her life day to day, is this going to interest her at all in the long run?
Right.
And if you can have a $299 netbook and do a lot of the same things, which you can do a lot of the same things, is this going to call to her? And I don't know that it's necessarily a mainstream product. I think it will go to Apple's core audience. It'll go to the higher end, people willing to spend higher amounts. I was talking to Tim Baharan, the analyst, who said that he thinks that the $499 one will not be the top seller, that it'll be one of the higher end models.
It's always been that way. When they sold an 8 gigabyte iPhone, people really wanted the 16 gigabyte.
Well, what people want on the iMac is the 27
inch.
iMac.
Yeah,
that's Apple's customer.
Apple's smart. They created the low price point. Obviously, that gets the attention. People are going to buy the middle one.
Right.
Do you need all that storage, though? I mean, a 16 gigabyte iPhone is a pretty big iPhone, isn't it?
I haven't even filled my iPhone up, and I shoot video all the time.
Yeah.
So,
I can't fit all of my music on a 16 gig iPod. So
I don't think you put your music on this device, though. Do you? What do you think, Alex?
Well, I'll me. I'll buy the the biggest one. But 64 gigs. I have a 32 gig. I think a 32 gig iPhone. But my iPhone's full. I'm constantly, it's I have to throw stuff away, turn things on and off to get it all, because I have a lot of shows. I travel a lot, so I have a lot of shows, and I don't have all my music on it. On my iPhone, my Zune is actually what I keep all my music on, and so my iPhone just has a couple playlists that I like. But I think that, and I also think, I don't think that this is aimed at the Walmart audience, at least right now. But what I do think it does is that I think it makes it very hard if you have another tablet that's $399, or $299. I mean, I think that we were just talking about that when you guys were restarting. Is that it's a very difficult market to stay in. When you don't have any room to move.
Right. I'm going to let Justine go because I can't.
I don't have headphones, so I have no idea what anyone's saying.
Well, and not only that, I know you want to go play with it.
I do. It was amazing, and I'm really excited for it to come out. I really can't wait.
Get my badge from Roger over there. He's got the press.
Okay.
You could just say you're me.
All right. Sounds good. I look like Leo. We're twins.
Thank you. Justine Ezarik, iJustine.com.
Bye, guys.
All right. Hey, we're going to take a break. We're continuing. This is our compulsive coverage of the amazing event. And I have to say, I'm glad we're here. We've just really been having a great time. Everybody else is here. Before we move on to more coverage of the iPad, I do want to thank our sponsors, especially Citrix. And Go to My PC. Go to My PC is that great product that lets you access your computer anywhere you are. I could have actually used Go to My PC in the auditorium and send and receive email, run programs, access any network resource. If you can get online, you can get to your office system securely, quickly, and easily. You can try it right now. If you go to gotomypc.com/MacBreak, you can try it free for 30 days. 30 days of unlimited use, as many hours as you want. Use it 24/7 if you want. I think it's a good idea to try before you buy. You want to get a sense of how you might use this thing. You got a vacation coming up, put Go to My PC on and take a trip. If you've got a business travel ahead, or maybe you just want to go home early one day, go to mypc.com/MacBreak. We thank them so much for their support of MacBreak Weekly. Now, I could do it stand up if you want. You want to do it sitting down?
We can do it sitting down. Just cross interview. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming by. Leo.
I'm Gigi Graciette with Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
Of course. I've seen you many times on the TV. Oh, my goodness.
TV.
You're very kind. Isn't it silly? Here we are with a camcorder, and we're using the Skype to broadcast to, how many people are watching?
How many people?
About 120,000.
Wow. I'm impressed.
This is amazing.
It is amazing. This is modern technology at its best. This is what it's all about.
It's a lot of fun.
So, Gigi, were you in there? Did you see the...
I was there for the whole presentation. I knew a little bit more, but I really liked it. I love the newspaper feature. I think it's the best thing to happen to newspapers in a long time, the chance to stream their content and maybe charge for it, make some money since ad revenues have gone down. I really like that. Love the iBooks. I think that's going to revolutionize the way we read books. But most importantly, what did you think about it? You're the expert here.
I was lucky. I got to actually go into the demo area after and touch it and hold it. And I think that that's something that is a little bit missing from a presentation like this. You can watch it on the stage and see Steve play with it and get a sense of it. But really, a lot of what this is an aesthetic experience. Holding this beautiful unibody aluminum device, it's smooth. The screen is very clear. The device itself is quite fast, which is kind of unexpected for a device like this. I think that the proof is really in the using of it. And I'll be very interested to see what consumers do, because this is a new category. This is not like anything they're used to. So it's going to really be a question of, will consumers hold it in their hands and say, yeah, I'm willing to spend $500, $600, $700 for this device, even though I've never had a device like it before.
Right. With all the hype, though, did it exceed your expectations? Were you disappointed, or did it live up to the hype? Because we've been talking about this some people have been talking about it for years. We've been talking about it for months, and there's been so much talk about this, so much buzz.
What's surprising is that even though Apple was very tight-lipped, they're notorious for not giving any information about this, we actually had a pretty good idea. We got the name, we got the functionality. A lot of people said it's just going to be a beefed up iPod Touch. That's essentially what it was. So really, there were far fewer surprises, and a lot of the kind of outrageous things people thought it might have, a solar panel or 3 cameras, that kind of thing. Those didn't happen. It's pretty much what we thought it was going to be.
What's your prediction? Look into your tech crystal ball. Are consumers going to go for it? I've gotten a lot of tweets today that people are already lusting. They didn't know they needed it, and now they can't live without it, and they haven't even seen it.
Isn't that what Apple's so good at, is creating lustworthy objects that are, in fact, Steve even said this, the intersection of technology and liberal arts. He's an artist, they're artistic, and they've created something that is beautiful. I think what'll happen, they have these beautiful Apple retail stores. People will go into these stores, maybe not even thinking they want this thing, but just saying, well, let's take a look at it. Or I'm going to go buy a laptop, but as long as I'm there, let's take a look at the iPad. And I have a feeling a lot of people will go out the door with an iPad. I think this is going to sell very well this year. And in years to come, as they put more content on it, I think by next year, this time, you'll be able to watch television on it. This is going to be a killer product.
Great. So you like it? So Leo Laporte stamp of approval?
Well, I want one. Does that count?
Best feature. The best feature on it. What stood out the most important thing on this?
I think this is the best ebook reader I've ever seen. I'm a Kindle fan. I have a Kindle. I use the Kindle. I love the Kindle. This makes the Kindle look like something out of the 1920s. That is an amazing ebook reader. And even if people just buy it for that, and they're spending $300 and $400 for a Kindle, this is going to be a killer product. But then you add all the gaming onto that. You add the movies, the video, and just like you said, the ability to read the New York Times. I've tried the New York Times and the Kindle. It is a terrible experience. The Kindle is good for books, but very bad for anything you want to skim or jump around in. This is made for that. I think this is going to save the newspaper industry.
I agree with you. I think so, too. I think this is the best thing that's happened in newspapers, and I think we're going to see newspapers all over the world lining up to get their product on there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gigi. You were on my show, and I was on your show.
Technology.
Is it weird having two microphones? Is that straight?
We're going back and forth here. Yeah, but we're very coordinated. Did you notice that? Looking good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gigi. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever done. I don't know what that looked like. Hey, Patrick Norton is here. Come on over, Patrick Norton. We are talking about the iPad obsessively. Patrick, we're going to put you in this chair here because this is the chair with the headphones.
Sit on the left side.
So Merlin, tell me how wrong I am in everything I just told Gigi.
Well,
about what?
I don't know.
I don't hear.
Do you think that this is a consumer product that people are going to say when they maybe not? I'm thinking that people are going to say, "Oh, $4.99. I don't have something like that. It's not an upgrade to something I have. Do I really need it?" But that they're going to go into the Apple store and they're going to hold it. And they're saying, "Yeah, I don't. Maybe I don't need it. But I sure want it."
I think it's a red herring to talk about things like the lady at Walmart and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have an opinion one way or another about the economics of America. But again, like we said a little bit earlier when you were in the hall there, Apple has had a lot of their success in the last few years by not chasing people who want to buy on price. And the thing is, they are not going to fill out the left side of their adoption curve by giving a lot of stuff away. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, absolutely. I think regular people on the street are going to buy this. And specifically to your point about holding it in your hand, yes, I agree. I think that's going to be what really sells it. I think you're right. And I want to say for the fifth time, I was dead wrong about the price. I thought it would be about twice as much. Well, and I think it just shows you that this is a company that's interested in pushing out content for money. I think that's the play.
Now, I wonder if there's subsidies in here. That was kind of my theory was, well, they can't sell a $1,000 device. They'll figure out a way to bring the price down by building in some subsidies in the content. And maybe that's what Apple's going to do. Historically, Alex, I know you'll back this up. In the iTunes store, Apple says we've never made money in the iTunes store. We use the iTunes store to sell iPods. This might be setting that model on its ear. This might really be, we're going to lower the price on this hardware and we're going to start to try to make money on content.
Well, I think that when you look at them taking 30%, on applications, I think that and all the content that goes into those applications, while they're not making much money maybe on the music, I do think that they're starting to see there's some margin there. And it may not be a lot of margin. It may not be big numbers at the beginning, but I think that as you look at something where people are consuming, you're not competing people are consuming everything that they watch, everything that they read, theoretically.
And it looks like the price for the ebooks is going to be more expensive than, safe.
Yeah, how much was the Kindle when it started? It was $3.99, right?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Actually, it's funny you should say that. I think it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall at some recent meetings at Amazon because, we think of this as being one company, but if you think about the business units, could you imagine being a product manager for electronic books versus being the product manager for the Kindle? Because they're going to be having some coming to blows in a big way over this. Because you want your product on that device.
Right.
Now, it might look like I've got a big fuzzy bear joining me, but actually it's my... Put your head... Oh, my God.
It's really cute.
Oh, my God.
Big fuzzy
It's
bear.
Patrick Norton, of course, my old buddy from the Screensavers and the host of Texzilla at Revision 3. And you said something interesting, Patrick. You said $400.
I was like, we're talking with somebody before. I was like, 400. I tossed it out as a lark. So think about it. For an unsubsidized iPhone, you're still tied down to a 2-year contract. It's essentially costing $50 more than the base level version of this, right? So it's $499. And part of me is like, it's got built-in GPS. It's actually, this is really, Steve Jobs has decided to bring GIS to the masses. This is all about...
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I heard a lot
I'm talking about geographic information system.
Yeah, I mean, okay, and that's kind
Maps.
of... Maps and integrating databases with maps. But, like, I look at people who do GIS, and I can tell they're already frothing because the idea of having network access to the data, you know, 16, 32, 64 gigabytes of storage locally, it could be a lot of fun for doing stuff like that.
We have a lot of rumors about vertical applications for this. Supposedly, he'd shown it, for instance, to surgeons at Cedars-Sinai Hospital.
I mean, you and I have been joking literally for close to a decade now, right? Every time we'd see a tablet PC, be like, oh, it's the toilet PC. You can browse the internet.
Toilet? And doctors.
Yeah, and doctors. And it's like, who uses tablet PCs right now? Insurance agencies with vertical applications when they're doing when they're basically going to an accident scene for a car or for a house or something like that. Hospitals use them. Doctors use them.
It's too beautiful for that, though.
Why? Why is it too beautiful for that?
You know, it feels like, I have to say, the more I think about it, the more I think about how that looks, that we've entered the Star Trek era. This is welcome to the future, Patrick Norton.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, the end of the year wrap up for 2009. I was like, think about it. I'm on the highway doing 70 miles an hour. I find out that one of my childhood icons of punk rock is dead. I don't have it out on my iPhone, and I can mystically download this song at
Amazing.
Ether. I mean, and then play it on my truck. And by the way, I can do video.
But you remember on the Screensavers in 1999, it was 2000, we were building a car MP3 player, which basically involved a beige box in the back trunk.
Yeah, and it's like, and now you can do, you know, an iPhone has everything. It does everything it does, and does it with a better interface and a simpler interface and a safer interface.
I mean, this is 10 years later, and we're in the future.
Well, yeah, it does. Like, I don't.
And you're still wearing barriers.
Well, you know, I don't particularly want a jetpack to go with my barriers. But, you know, I'm actually.
NASA has one of those. Did you see that?
The one where it's like the plastic container with the.
Yeah, I'm not going in that.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry.
Take all of the complicated technology that took the Marine Corps a decade to sort out down in the desert, down at at Edwards Air Force Base, and we're going to wrap it around a single person. I want to be excited about it, but it terrifies me.
So you've not historically been a Macintosh fanatic.
I was a Mac.
I see you use it on an iPhone.
Well, I was like 1990 to 1995. I never touched a PC, and then I started using PCs when Windows 95 came out. Now I've got I think 1, 2, 3 Macintoshes, 2 iPhones, an Apple TV, a couple of random iPods, 4 PCs, and a couple of notebooks.
One of us.
I'm one of everything. I travel amongst all the tribes.
What everything? That doesn't have the same ring to it.
I got to ask you, flat out, Mr. Laporte, are you going to buy one, and which model are you going to buy?
Hell yeah.
Are you going to buy the stripped-down Wi-Fi version?
Well, I can't wait 90 days, so I only have a choice.
You're going to buy both. You're going to buy the Wi-Fi version, and then as soon as the 3G version comes out, you're going to buy that.
At first I thought, oh, Steve, they couldn't, I bought that line where he said, it takes regulatory approval and the deals with the phone companies, so it's going to take us 90 days. I just realized, you're absolutely right. Steve's figured out a way to sell 2 of these to every one of us.
I agree. Were you shocked at the idea of AT&T? Like 2 things going on.
Shocked! No contract!
No contract. 2, having the price, because as part of the reason I stayed with Sprint is my EVDO modem. The service was good, the speed was good, the coverage was outstanding, but there was no data cap. And then finally, tail into 2000, it all bleeds together. 2000, 2008, 2009, they finally followed AT&T and Verizon with the data cap on wireless 3G, right? And now you're looking at 3 movies off of iTunes, and you've almost blown through your monthly allotment.
250 megabytes is not enough.
Even 5, but 5
gigs may not be enough.
Most of them are doing for your all you can eat.
So he said unlimited.
Price and unlimited data. It's really interesting.
You think it's really unlimited, or it's 5 gig unlimited?
Well, if it's 5 gig unlimited, then it's not unlimited. It's 5 gigs.
That's what AT&T
3 movies
calls
and
it.
A lot of web browsing. But if it's actually unlimited for $30 a month,
Then
that
it's
is
amazing.
a major deal. That is half of what you're charging.
Yeah,
what I
no
want to know
way.
is like,
You think Merlin? You think they're that's the special?
Well, I have
interpretation of
friends.
unlimited?
I have friends who download things from the internet. I don't personally do it, but I'm somewhat familiar with the facts and the data around these issues. And I'll tell you that a 1-hour TV show at 480 is about 175 megs. I saw them touting an HD device on this thing. Unless they're serving that for free, you're gonna. I mean, you're right. Exactly. One HD movie is going to blow your entire budget.
Yep, and we're
Oh no, I ruined it. I broke the
we
show.
lost the
You broke
audio.
it.
Oh, there-
You broke the
I
internet.
broke MacBreak.
Broke the internet. Well, I was just going to say, here's the MiFi card. I've got the MiFi card. I've got Wi-Fi. I'm happy with it. I don't even know if I need 64 gigs, to be honest.
I think you can. I mean, at this point, I'm using. I want to say I'm using 8.5 gigabytes. I don't have a lot of music on my iPhone right now, but if you want to start
I
traveling,
think 16's plenty.
like 16's plenty.
I still have my iPhone, or actually, I'm using a Nexus One.
by 768, so you don't really need a high def movie. Not that iTunes movies are high
What
def.
is the resolution of this?
1024 by 768? I was told.
So it's 720p.
That's
not
smaller
quite.
than 720p.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's-
screen
that's
size is exactly the
768.
same as a Kindle. It's exactly the same as a Kindle DX, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Bizarre. I was actually pleasantly shocked that they're talking 10 hours of battery life. I want to, what I want to find out is, get it in the real world and see if that's the classic, 10 hours with Wi-Fi turned off and,
I immediately pictured
Nothing's going. It's 10 hours, but if you use it,
We lost him. Hold on. Hello?
oh, we lost him.
There, you're back.
Can you hear us now? We lost the audio.
Are you still there? Okay.
Now we
We got
can
the
hear you.
video.
Good.
Can you hear us now?
This is trying to use the iPad.
What's funny
as
is
a
we're getting
phone.
the-
Yeah, it was just Steve flushed the Wi-Fi earlier.
Okay. We can hear you. We can hear you, Leo. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Great.
Well, then fire away.
So, I mean, is everybody excited? I mean, I did not expect to have any interest in this, except that I think it's like, and I was thinking like maybe as a navigational tool for the truck, like the perfect mobile maps for the truck. And I got to say, at $500, like, don't tell my wife, but I want one. And I wasn't really expecting to want a tablet.
What about the lack of portability? This doesn't really feel like something you're going to carry around in your backpack.
I've been carrying around a 13-inch, 15-inch notebook for actually over a decade at this point. So
It feels to me like something maybe I'm wrong on this. What do you guys think of the studio? That it's something that you put on the living room, on the coffee table.
The thing is, as what exactly what Patrick was saying. I have my laptop is on my back about 80% of the time I'm out of my house. This is just a
and this
smaller
is good
version.
enough to replace it.
I have a 17-inch MacBook Pro. I would like to replace it.
Yeah.
something more portable would be very great. Yeah, love it.
carrying around a cafeteria tray and pretending it's a notebook is a painful process. You have a desktop that runs okay on batteries. That's like I was pleasantly surprised because my running joke is like I could almost go without a notebook, except in heavy content creation mode, if I had the ability to plug a USB or Bluetooth keyboard into my iPhone.
I thought it was very interesting they came up with that keyboard dock. That was a shocker.
Right there, and it's like if the keyboard dock is there, which means they basically this is also I bet the air vaporizes inside.
Oh yeah, there's no need for an air, is there?
This kills off the air.
It's cheaper.
You buy this, you buy the dock, and it's a really decent notebook, and it's £1.50 notebook.
It doesn't have
You
a
know,
webcam though. You don't have a camera, so it doesn't replace.
How often do you really use the web camera on a notebook?
If
I've
you
used
Skype,
it
which a
fairly
lot of
often,
do.
actually.
Daily.
Yeah, on a regular basis.
But
Never. I never use it.
so do you actually? So you actually use it? Do you actually use it other than for recording podcasts?
yes, I do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
No. I mean, because I know people do, and like I've had a lot of fun. Like
Skype, dude, Skype.
Yeah, no, why? I use this is one of the ways my mother gets to see her grandchild is Skype. So yeah,
I figure you'll do that at home with the laptop or with the desktop.
well, it'd be nice to be able to do it everywhere in the car with the magic device, or maybe this may have also been something where AT&T was like, no, we'll give you your little cut rate data plan. We'll give you
camera.
your maybe they, but we're not dealing with streaming video.
Well, let's address that because this is clearly a very locked down device. I mean, there was a guy walking, more so than usual. A guy was walking by with a sign saying, "Welcome to the Apple Zone." No openness, everything locked down. It's pretty clear that there's not going to be Skype on this device. There's not going to be Google Voice. This is going to be even more locked down.
No.
Does it have a microphone?
It does.
It does have a microphone.
It has a
No,
microphone.
it does.
It does
it
have
has.
a microphone.
So it has. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. Maybe it doesn't. It has. No, it doesn't. It has
No
audio playback. But
microphone.
you could. That's something you could easily build an interface for that would go into its dock.
The iPod Touch, if you plug in one of these, like the headset I'm wearing, like this Etymotic that you like, it will give it a microphone.
What is it? Given that, Steve. I mean, the not Steve Jobs letter to AT&T about the whole we've given you the perfect device. What are you people stupid, right? And I don't see any upside for Apple in not letting Skype or any other.
I see a huge upside. In fact, if you thought that Apple was going to open it up to Verizon, they're not. They're still an AT&T shop, and maybe the AT&T at this point is desperate to keep Apple happy.
But I think that with Skype already available on the iPhone, it seems unlikely that AT&T could turn it off. For that. I don't think you get video Skype, but as far as audio Skype,
I think that's why there's no camera.
Well, yeah. They could certainly. There's no reason they can't put a flag on the software that prevents it from running on the iPad. I think the uproar from the people who have just spent $500 and told that they can't use it as a VoIP system would probably be insane.
It feels to me like a very closed
seeing,
system, but not that the Kindle isn't.
Your iPhone is a closed system. The iTunes is a closed system. If it wasn't for CDs, iTunes would be completely closed down.
Merlin, you were going to say something?
I'm going to say something bold. I think we've turned a corner. I think we're seeing something that started. I think it probably started when they started pushing out the VARs a few years ago. I think this is a company that's making it clear that they're not afraid to leave people behind to define who their audience is rather than let the audience define what they want, for better or for worse. I think we saw that with the iPhone and iTunes, and now if you think this is going to be a platform that's suddenly going to turn into Linux, you need to walk away because this is going to get tighter and tighter.
And there is an input output, just to make sure we're accurate. I don't think it's actually built into the iPad, but there is a microphone, and I'm not sure whether
There's
it's
a mic input.
There's a mic input. I'm not sure whether it's a built-in mic or it's an input for a mic.
It must be on the dock. It must be on the dock port, Alex, because I did not see a microphone input on the side.
It's just listed in their text specs.
It has input output.
It's mentioned on the site. They mentioned it on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to say, Merlin. I think that opening 5 or 6 slides in the presentation that was a shot across the bow of the entire cell phone, like the mobile industry. It's like we made 50 billion Q4. We're bigger than Nokia. Watch out.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, that was a giant. I can't
And
say
Steve,
that
a classic Steve move though of deciding. Something I said before is just they're so good at deciding who their competition is going to be. And the reason it's such a frustrating company to try and chase is that they decide who they want to have chase them. And you think you understand what war you're fighting with Apple, and then they just completely change the terms without asking you. And that's what we saw. And they're not afraid to go out and say, here's who we defined our competition as. Welcome.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that you still have an advantage that was seen as a disadvantage when Steve wasn't there, which is the integration of the hardware and the software. And I think that being able to have control of both pieces of that puzzle, you're seeing this. I don't think you could make this device if you didn't have full control over the software and the hardware.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
We're
It's
Patrick
the
Furry
opposite.
Norton. Thank you so much for coming by. I know this was kind of a joint.
of wildlife.
Of course you are. I always have been.
I'm not even.
This was kind of a joint production of Techzilla. And do you want me to say anything?
Well, can I do a quick? Do we have a camera rolling? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll put my
we're
mic
here
down.
at Apple's event, January 27th. There was an iPad and nothing else. Mr. Laporte, are you excited?
I am, actually. I think in some ways, put the microphone in my face. I think it's...
So obviously one of us is a professional here.
And I have a MiFi, so I'm not going to worry about 3G. I think a lot of people won't need 3G. I think Wi-Fi's everywhere, and Wi-Fi's fast. Wi-Fi is practically free. Why not just go with Wi-Fi?
I $20 says you buy 2 of them.
You might be right. You might be right. I really think that the low-end one at $4.99 for 16 gigs with Wi-Fi only is actually a pretty compelling product. That's going to replace my Kindle on day one.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to drop your Kindle.
Absolutely.
And all of your Kindle
Did you go
books.
in there
Or
and
you're gonna
try
run
it?
Well, you're going to run the Kindle app on there. Yeah. it felt. I was actually shocked. The interface feels awesome. The screen is gorgeous. The photos look great on it. I want it. I want it right now just to use the Google Maps in my truck. Yeah. It looks like the perfect navigational tool. It's like it's probably for people who do GIS, except for the fact that it's on a Windows platform. There's people who are probably sitting there going, like, it's perfect. Yeah. It's the perfect tool.
It'll be interesting to see if there's a vertical market. But I think this is definitely a mass market product that's going to have a tough sell initially because it's a new category. People say, well, I have a laptop or I have a phone. I don't even know what this is. Do I need it? But as soon as they go to an Apple store and they have this experience, I think they're gonna buy them.
I think it also means the death of the MacBook Air because they came out with the keyboard adapter, the dock immediately. Keyboard, I could dump my notebook.
Is this the death of the netbook?
No, because there's a lot of people who like running Windows and Linux, and there's a lot of people here out here in the world who still despise Apple, and they consider it. A lot of people think about Apple the way a lot of people think about BMW. Yes, it's a wonderful, perfect driving machine, but everyone who drives them are evil. I will never.
I think you could say that when Apple had devices that looked like computers, right, where they had keyboards and a screen, they were just another flavor. I think what Apple's done here is very significant. I think they've gone from being another flavor of computer to a new device, and there is no equivalent. And I think in some ways, what Apple's done here is truly remarkable. They've actually created a new category. This is what they, I'm sure, hope
this
to
is
do.
My new jetpack. This is Star Trek.
Yeah, and I think that people are going to be using the thing that's unique about this is it gets out of your way 100%. That's what we always wanted with technology, is that the technology gets out of your way so you can use it in a natural, fluid way. And I think this is the first device I've seen that really does that.
And what did they say? 75. It's like 75 million people already on the iPhone or the iPod Touch, and it's a seamless transition to the new interface.
Precisely. When you hold this thing and you start using your finger, what mouse, what keyboard, it gets out of the way. And I think that cannot be underestimated. There's a real significance to that. And I don't think we really know yet how important that is. We may look back and say, this is when the computer changed into something completely different.
Oh, it's so funny. I was joking at your end of the year show, I have my jetpack, and I'm on the highway. I'm downloading music. I'm listening to stuff. It's my cell phone. It's my computer. It's my tricorder, right? It's my communicator. Were you surprised that there was no video camera in it?
Not at all. I didn't expect one. In fact, I have a checklist. I thought that they were going to keep it simple. And there's a really compelling reason to do that. Again, to get out of the way. It's not a geek device. It doesn't have a lot of ports. It doesn't have a dock. It doesn't have an HDMI port. It doesn't have a mini display port. It doesn't have USB on it. It doesn't have a keyboard unless you buy one. It doesn't have a camera. It is something different. And if you think of it as a computer, you're going to say, well, it's missing all this stuff. If you think of this as an appliance, which is really what started the Macintosh, right? Alan Kay said, I want to make a computing appliance. This is an appliance.
I think the man is gone mystical on us. I love Mr. Laporte. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick Norton, my old buddy, the Bear, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get on, and we have some great people coming up, including Jason Snell from Macworld Magazine, Ryan Block from GDGT, Tom Merritt is here from Buzz Out Loud. Everybody's here. This is a huge event. I do want to mention one more sponsor, a great sponsor we've loved for a long time, the folks at Squarespace. In fact, we're using Squarespace right now for our in-house blog at inside.twit.tv. You can take a look. But if you go to squarespace.com/MacBreak right now and look at they call it, I think, the demos, but really those are real sites using Squarespace. You'll see the variety of Squarespace experiences. It's really remarkable. Squarespace is not a blogging engine. It is a web host starting at $8 a month that has the most amazing software you've ever seen. Talk about getting out of the way. This software allows you to pick a beautiful template to start with, then customize it to make it your own, create websites that look gorgeous, work better than any other site because of their amazing VPS technology that allows them to add server bandwidth when it's needed so you never get slash-dotted or dug. You could stay up no matter what happens. I have to say, you're going to want to take a look at this. Try it free for 2 weeks, no credit card needed, squarespace.com/MacBreak. If you decide to sign up for Squarespace, by the way, very easy to get your data in and out. It supports import and export from WordPress, Typepad, Blogger. If you decide to move to Squarespace, use the coupon code MacBreak. You get 10% off. We thank them so much for their support. This is really world-class technology. If you're ready for a website or you want to have a website that finally works for you, squarespace.com/MacBreak. So we are continuing MacBreak Weekly We are outside the Moscone Center. We're going to take a little break while we change batteries. If you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, Merlin and Merlin was only going to be on for 1 hour. I think you're having fun, aren't you, Merlin?
Yeah, I've peed 3 times.
In your pants? Merlin and
twice.
Alex and Kiki, back to you in the studio, and we'll be back live from Moscone Center as we continue our compulsive, obsessive coverage of the iPad announcement.
Yeah, OCD, iPad coverage.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Alex, do you get the impression that Leo likes it?
I think Leo. Well, he touched it. It had they put the magic sauce on it, and I think that was part of it. Now, a couple housekeeping things while people are talking, while he's getting changed over. We had a couple inputs. We don't know. There is a microphone. We don't know it looks like it's a built-in microphone, and because there's also a 3-point
built-in.
I think that from the specs that we see on, we haven't seen one, but it looks like there's a built-in microphone as a correction. There's a 3.5 millimeter stereo headphone jack. I'm assuming that's going to be a 3-prong, a tip or a sleeve tip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to that might give us another way to do audio input.
Right.
I don't know that for sure. We're just kind of looking at that. It does look like there is a USB connection. Now I don't know whether that's through the dock or directly into the iPad. It does say that charging is via power adapter or USB to computer system. So it does look like there's a USB system. There is there's also some
accessories.
There's some accessories.
Connector kit.
The camera connection kit. Now, this does not look like it is this is not a connection kit that is going to let you get a live feed from your camera. It looks more like this is designed so that you can import data from either a USB connection from your camera or from the camera's USB cable, or from an SD card. So it lets you, but for photographers, some people were asking about this. Am I going to be able to put, my photos in? So you can be in the field, and you can be throwing photos in there and doing whatever you need to do with them once they're there, very, very quickly.
Right.
So that's a very interesting, opportunity there. A couple other things as far as some tech specs, and you can get these all, of course, on the Apple Store. But interesting things here: that there is a video out, so your standard VGA adapter. Or you can use the composite AV cable, an Apple composite AV cable, and get 576, that's PAL, or 480p, or interlace, both out of the AV cable. So there is a video out. It can handle H.264 video up to 720p. Now it's not going to play it back at full resolution there, but obviously because because it doesn't have a screen size that's 720p. Yep. But it is capable of playing that back, which means that somewhere down the road, or if you want to play it out to a TV, we would assume that you would. It still says support for 1024 by 768. I think mostly if you download an HD video that you're going to use on a couple different devices, and you want to watch it at full resolution, when it plays back here or when it plays out of its connector, it's going to be a little bit smaller than that. It's got to fit in 1024 by 768. So it is a very it's conservative, but also it has it looks like all of the basic pieces that we would want. It's very interesting.
It is interesting. There are people. When he first announced it earlier today, watching the chat room, there were a bunch of people just saying, "Oh, it's just a big iPod Touch." It's not really that big a deal. So maybe you've said it is something that you have to get your hands on to really understand and to see how it works. But is that going to be a downside? Merlin, do you think that's going to be something that's going to be a negative, that it's just a bigger iPod Touch?
Again, not amongst the people who would make a buying decision about this. Maybe I'm beating this into the ground, but I think there's easy straw men to be made out of going who will and won't buy this. Mm-hmm. The people who buy this are the people who buy it, the kind of people who buy iPhones. There's a giant number of people who would buy this thing if it was like a big piece of poop with an Apple logo on it.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of people, again, it's very viral. You see somebody with a BlackBerry, and that looks like the pocket quarterback game I had when I was 11. You see somebody with an iPhone, you go, that is a really polished piece of equipment. Now, the other side of the phenomenon that Leo describes of using an Apple hardware product for a while, it's kind of like you hear these stories about people coming over from Windows and getting on an Apple for a week, right? They've been on Windows their entire life. Wintel, I should say. It's not just the software. But you know what I'm saying? You get on the Apple for a week, and then you go back to Wintel.
It's ugly.
It's like you realize
and here's a question I have for you, though. This is another thing that I think is a key issue as you look at the expansion of the iPhone, and the expansion here is, and this is something that Kiki was bringing up, was how does this affect Flash? We did not hear Flash. Obviously, it's not going to play Flash.
Get my resume together.
What?
I mean, Flash is going to be around for a while. I think it's much more interesting that he demoed something from YouTube. I'm kind of surprised. There were so many predictions about how this was going to be the big opportunity for Apple to really formally make a break from Google. The default search is going to be Bing, and so on and so on and so on. I thought it was kind of interesting that he did show YouTube content, rather than choosing to go somewhere else like Vimeo or something just to make a point.
Yeah, well,
the Flash. I mean, read the stats. Again, Gruber posted this thing talking to people about the number of crashes in Safari that are related to "quote unquote" plugins.
Oh,
it's buggy. It's totally buggy.
Well, and I think that this is a real issue for Adobe because a lot of their future has been based on this, and the issue that you get into is that without I think we talked about this, but I mean I've talked to people who have to rebuild their whole site because the CEO can't watch it on his iPhone.
There's two. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous to me that the two there are two kinds of entities that tend to use all Flash sites: bands and restaurants. It's mind-blowing to me how many bands.
Annoying.
So the two things that you want information about when you're out and about are completely inaccessible. You get a single icon that says this site sucks.
And we are back. We've done the reset here, and we're going to send it back. Leo, we are sending it back to you.
It's funny. Of course, Steve is pulling up the New York Times front page, and everybody in the audience laughed because what do you see? That little Lego block, no Flash support. He didn't have to say no Flash support. He immediately scrolled down. I was hoping when he was playing with the New York Times site that he would click on the live blogging entry because it would have been very meta to watch him.
I don't think the journalists in that room were disciplined enough not to take advantage of that and exploit it.
Steve's thinking a little faster than I am. Andy Ihnatko is here, Chicago Sun-Times. He's back from playing with it, and he'll tell us how it was.
And Leo, we're not getting Andy's mic.
Can we check his mic?
Oh, make sure your mic's on here. Let's see. It isn't on. Now it's on, and now we can see. So say that again.
We were failed by an analog control.
Switch was off. No, I was just saying that it would have been funny if Steve had clicked on the live blogging on the New York Times to see the live blogging.
And I was just imagining the king of controlling these things, essentially putting up a live window in which journalists in that room could type whatever they want, and everybody would have to read it.
Look, Ma, I'm on stage.
Good thing I already bought my Kindle. It costs half this much.
Andy Ihnatko is here, Chicago Sun-Times. You were just playing with the iPad. Also with us from GDGT, Ryan Block. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So tell me, what do you think?
It's heavy. It's a little. I mean, that's the first.
Wait a minute, a pound and a half, and you think that's too heavy?
It doesn't sound very heavy, but when you're used to the feel of an iPhone or a mobile device, and you get it in your hands, and most people don't really play with Slate-style devices, it feels hefty. I mean, it's not bad. It's not unreasonable, but it is.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just definitely a little heavier than I would like to have seen a little bit lighter.
On the other hand, that could have felt flimsy. This felt very solid. It's a unibody aluminum with beautiful kind of curved back. I think the industrial design on it is gorgeous.
It's great, and it feels absolutely solid. I mean, it feels like a brick. I mean, it lasts you for years and years, which is great. So you got that trade-off. It's not, you're obviously you're not putting it in your pocket, right? So like the weight is not that big of a deal in most cases.
I have to ask you because this is, you cover CE. First of all, the A4 chip. What the heck is this? Apple designed its own CPU?
Yeah, I think that we've got a little bit more to learn about this. I don't know if when they say A4, they're referring to the ARM specification.
Because there's an A8, which is a Cortex.
Yeah, and then they came back from A8 Cortex, and they're bringing the numbers down a little bit because they're changing the architecture. But the new lower numbers are actually faster. I haven't heard of A4, so I don't know if this is ARM yet.
I noticed, though, I was looking, again, reading tea leaves here, but I was looking when he showed the picture of the motherboard, and they showed that A4 chip. And I wish I'd gotten a capture of it. I'm sure somebody did. We can maybe look a little closer. But it had a chip number, and then it said OEM on it. So I'm wondering if maybe it is an Apple-designed ARM chip that is manufactured by somebody else, or I'm wondering what that part is. The other thing is...
It's almost definitely manufactured by somebody else. Probably
they don't have a fab.
Yeah, probably Samsung. I mean, that's how most ARM-based chips are, and that's actually how ARM itself works. Is they just design the specs, they design some chip, some higher level chip aspects, and then that just goes out, and then companies like Samsung or whoever has the fab are the ones who actually make the chips.
And the other technology was the IPS screen. Do we know anything about that?
I've still got a little bit of research to do on this one. I haven't seen a lot of products with this, and I haven't actually really met anybody who really knows the difference between IPS and anything else. I mean, it's an LCD. It's not the Pixel Qi display that some people have been talking about. The Pixel Qi display is a little bit more like e-ink. It's not that. It's not e-ink. It has that that glass plate on the front. Did we just lose it?
I thought it really looked good. I played with the bookstore, and then I played with the reader, which I have to think is classics. If you've used that iPhone application, it's the same bookshelf, the same page turn. I think they must have licensed it. But I thought it was very legible, very readable.
Yeah, but you're not going to take it outside, and that's part of the problem here. I mean, if you've ever taken a unibody MacBook Pro outside, I mean, it is a nightmare. You get so much glare. It's just going to be really difficult to take with you anywhere out.
That was a problem with the OLED screen, too.
Okay, but that's 6 1 half dozen the other. You're also going to have the same problem if you're trying to read a Kindle on an airline and you don't have the light overhead just right.
I prefer in bed reading to have backlight, to be honest.
I would much rather have a book that can be read in dim lighting than a book where I would have to simply choose where I sit and how I turn. And the display, someone's giving me information so quickly that I did not want to put down the iPad to pick up my pad, so I actually wrote down my hand.
He's written something on his hand.
So it's 1024 by 768 resolution, 132 dots per inch.
That's pretty good.
That's very, very good. Also, when you look at it really, really closely, that's certainly not the same resolution as the Kindle screen, but the thing is, it's anti-aliasing a lot better. I think their font rendering is a lot better. I would have to say that side by side, it's at least a push because the advantages of the Kindle are not the advantages of this display.
I did play with all the games that they had on the samples were just standard iPhone games.
Yeah.
And I played with Assassin's Creed, blew it up to full screen, and I didn't see any anti-aliasing. There were a lot of jaggies. It didn't look very good. It probably isn't what people are going to want to do. You're going to, in most cases, I think you're either going to play it at the 1X size, where there's a small window within the big window, or better yet, you're going to get a custom-built application.
I'm very curious to see if part of the package specification for these new applications is that I can develop an ebook application or a game application that has both sets of code inside it. So instead of having to sell 2 copies of it, it will simply know what it's being launched on.
It is an LED backlit display, which is a good-looking display.
Yeah. No, the display looked amazing. I mean, the thing that they actually didn't really kind of touch on, and that you just mentioned in a way, is so they talk about how the original native iPhone apps or iPhone OS apps, as it were,
they run out of the box.
Yeah, they run out of the box, and so you have like the regular resolution, the 480 by 320, and then you hit 2x, the button that says 2x, and it blows up to the full screen size. But the display at 1024 by 768, that's not actually 2x. That's actually a 4x resolution increase, roughly. Yeah. So,
so it's 2x this way and 2x that way,
and therefore it's quad. So, I mean, you're actually that's a huge resolution increase, and it actually looked pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it did not look bad. I've seen really, really bad upscaling in applications before in situations like this.
Maybe I just picked the wrong app.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it looked pretty decent.
The app that I really would have liked to seen is like the Kindle app or Stanza. Like when you scale that up 2 to 4 times, do you get font scaling for free, or does it simply render it out at iPhone screen resolution, then simply scale it as pixels?
I think out of box, it's probably not gonna render those fonts at scale. But I mean, I'm sure they'll issue an update or a different version.
SDK shipped today, so presumably people can look at it, and we'll get more information as people have looked at it. Maybe this afternoon we can get some calls from developers who've downloaded it. I'd be curious how difficult it is to port an existing iPhone app over to the iPad.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not very difficult. I mean, it's the same OS. Actually, I went into the settings. It said iPhone OS 3.2. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just, it's going to have some new hooks and some new APIs, and obviously you got to build for a different resolution.
Yeah. Merlin, you had something to say about that?
Oh, no. I just, I was just, it's interesting that Ryan caught that. And looks like
he's good.
My pal Tim over at Omni Group was saying the dev site was down. So I think a lot of people are probably banging on it right now.
Oh, I bet they are.
I'm trying to log in right now, yeah.
Andy, I love it that these guys, these are the real journalists. I'm going, Ooh. And Andy tried to do a screenshot.
Yeah, I was trying to see how much of the iPhone experience was translated over there. The only trick you can do on an iPhone you cannot do on this that I tried was a screenshot. Reorganizing icons, exactly same behavior. Cut, copy, and paste, exactly same behavior. One interesting thing for guys like me who are really interested in that mechanical keyboard, all of the little fan button commands will actually also work for cut, copy, and paste. So you can do Command C, Command V off the keyboard.
If you have the external keyboard.
If you have the external keyboard.
Well, you know what else I noticed? The actual the dock space on the bottom, your home dock space on the device. They showed it with 4 icons. You can get up to 6 in there though. Mm-hmm. So unlike the iPhone, which is stuck at 4 unless you jailbreak it, you can get up to 6, which is
limited to, it looked like 5 home screens plus the search screen. The search screen's still there, which is interesting.
I'm sure you could do more than 5. I mean, you could do more than 5 home.
I guess so. We could drag it over. I didn't try that.
Yeah, no, they only showed it with just a few apps on there, and we couldn't see the iBook store. We couldn't see the iTunes store. All the store stuff was kind of hidden functionality right now. They didn't have that open. But I mean, you got to play around with the email client and the web browser. They look amazing.
How was typing for you using the keyboard?
I'm actually kind of curious to hear how Andy felt about it. I felt the vertical orientation did not work for me. It was just too wide, and I felt my thumbs are kind of short and stubby, so it was not comfortable. The portrait orientation, the horizontal orientation where you actually have to kind of get in there like a regular keyboard was not that bad. I was actually kind of surprised. I thought it was going to be terrible. It was very decent. It just really needs some haptic feedback of some kind.
Well,
yeah, there's no feedback at all. Is there?
Feedback, it's really a little difficult. But I mean, it was surprisingly good.
I described it as more touch tappable than touch typable. I could use all of my fingers and I could use the usual rhythms. I just had to I type at 110 words per minute. I had to slow way the hell down. I was hoping that because the virtual keyboard on the iPhone does a really good job of figuring out what you meant to type instead of what you actually typed, it doesn't seem as though that really scales up.
I didn't
in
see
the
any
iPad
predictive
experience.
text at all.
It does autocorrection. I did see that in the demo on screen. I wasn't paying attention to that when I was typing myself. But the fact of the matter is, I did of course have to take a picture of the results when I tried to my usual typing test, and it's like, okay, that's perfect for a guy who types really well and makes lots of mistakes. Really great.
We're talking with Ryan Block of GDGT, GDGT.com, and I bet you already quite a few people have want next to iPad on GDGT.
Yeah, as of this morning, it was like 150 people. As of like a half an hour ago, which is the last time I checked, it was like 1,500 people in counting.
Yeah, I'll be adding that to my account.
Yeah, a lot of people are adding that to their want lists right now.
Any other thoughts you had? Any surprises? This seemed to go in some ways exactly as one would have predicted it.
I kind of wish that it might have been a little bit more widescreen. It's XGA 1024 by 768, which is fairly standard.
Do you think?
But Apple has done a really good job at making a lot of their products widescreen lately.
Go ahead, Alex.
Do you think that has something to do with the cost? They were trying to keep the price down, and one of the things about when you produce these,
and the form factor. Yeah, the form factor gets a little bit weird if you were to make that widescreen too. I totally get it. But when they showed the demo of some of those movies in like 16 by 9, it was
big letterbox.
It was just a tiny strip of movie and then black, huge black bars on either side.
I wonder if there weren't UI problems with that too. Given that you have like a square of user interface you're going to have to access with one finger. If you have that widescreen display, that gives you a little bit more to reach. As it was, I was a little bit surprised when that photograph of the prototype leaked on Engadget yesterday. I didn't know whether it was a real prototype or just an early ID. One of the things that made me sort of doubt it was the fact that all the UI was at the top of the screen. I figured that, I bet Apple's going to know that if you're holding the tablet like this, they don't want to make you reach up to do that sort of stuff. But of course, that was exactly the screenshot of maps that we'll find on the iPad.
One of the things they did very well, though, I thought, is handle the orientation. It rotates very swiftly, smoothly.
Every single mode you're in, if you just want to suddenly decide, you know what, I'd much rather be using landscape mode, it works. In the Mail application, it also has 2 totally different articulations of the user interface. One that makes perfect sense when you're in portrait mode, one that makes sense when you're in landscape mode.
I didn't feel like there was a single aspect to playing with the device, and I feel kind of guilty, but I took a long time to play with it. I mean, relatively, I'm sure that there were people who were kind of like, get off the device, but I really tried to dig into it as much as I could, and I just could not find anything that was sluggish. I could not find anything that was half-baked feeling. I mean, it felt so polished and so fast. I mean, it was really impressive.
I was so blown away on other devices when they try to do an animated page turn. It's more like, okay, I understand that you have now executed the page turn button, and now I will do an animation for you. With this one, it felt like you were turning the bloody page. When you try to do ridiculous things like I'm going to do pinch and scrolling, zooming on a web page as fast as possible, and it was keeping up with me microsecond by microsecond. There's nothing cheap or shoddy about this in the user experience.
I want to get back to what I said earlier, which is I think this is an example of a device where the device gets out of the way, and it is very intuitive. It's snappy. It does what you expect it to do. And I think that that's what makes this a next-generation device. I think that people right now are thinking netbook, they're thinking laptop, they're thinking iPhone. This is a new category. This is a next-gen category.
I absolutely agree with you. I was thinking about the things I took with me for this little 3-day trip, and the iPad could have easily handled everything, almost including, even if I didn't bring the mechanical keyboard with me. I was live blogging from a netbook, and I was just nothing but aware of all the limitations of having to do anything fast and productive on that tiny device. And I do believe that once I get my new iPad, a lot of things are going to be sent out to pasture.
I totally agree.
This is the one part that I'm just, I feel like the jury's out in terms of, consumer usage. I mean, I personally, I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to get it and play with it and see how it integrates. But, I'm very, I've got my small device for on the go, and I've got my larger device for when I need to sit down and really get work done. And I'm not really sure that there's a place in my life for it right now. And so I'm going to have to see, for me, I'm going to have to see. I think a lot of people, you've got your smartphone, you've got your laptop. That's like, you need those.
Yeah.
Like those are the two core experiences that you kind of have to have. And so, Steve, he didn't beat around the bush on this. He was very clear. Like, yeah, this is a third category. This is not going to replace your laptop. It's not going to replace your smartphone. It would have been very foolish if you'd have said, oh yeah, throw out your laptop. This is going to be the next.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that you need the laptop, you need the iPhone, but you want the iPad.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good way of putting it, and we're going to have to see how it's going to bear out in the market. I mean, we don't know how many people are going to buy these or how big this is going to be. I mean, it feels a little like the iPod to me.
Well,
they're introducing, they're introducing, and this is going to be a market that they're going to have to basically build from the ground up. I mean, there have been devices in the past, just like there were MP3 players in the market prior to the iPod, but they really built that market from the ground up.
Well, isn't that what Apple does the best? I mean, that's what Apple does best is create a market from the ground up.
That's the thing that's so.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think Apple is most effective at coming into an already established market and shaking it up, and the iPhone is possibly the best example of that.
Yeah, well, but see, that's the thing is they use the iPhone as a bridge. That's what's so amazing about it. Is in retrospect, if you think about how much you use your iPhone as a phone. For me, it all forwards directly to Google Voice. I touch it as little as possible. It's really a phone in air quotes. What they've done here, Leo keeps calling it an appliance, and I think that's a great name for it. Because if it's that fast and that reliable and that responsive, the problem is you hold this little thing in your hand, right? So I've got a workflow that involves Simple Note, Pastebot, Text Expander, where I can do really sophisticated blogging on here that would like pretty much blow your mind. And yet, every time I get into a text area, even with my girly fingers, this thing still feels like a toy. And what you got here is you've got something where if you're a journalist, if you're Andy and you do master the typing on this thing, I mean, this thing becomes a workforce. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if I see it being like fun to use spreadsheets, but for mobile stuff.
That's actually a note that I made. That this is the first spreadsheet that looks like it might be fun to use. But I think that what comes to mind is if you saw the HBO like sort of drama documentary about the development of the hardware to land people on the moon, they did a whole episode on developing the lunar lander. They're trying to save weight, and then someone comes up with the idea, well, what if we just take out the seats? And it says, well, they got to have seats. Well, who says they need seats? It's a lunar lander. The gravity is 1/6. And then suddenly realize, wait a minute, we've been developing this like we're developing another spacecraft. Right. We need to develop something that's brand new for this task. It's possible that the iPad is brand new for this task. It will cause a lot of people, not on the day of release, maybe not even 2010, but in 2011, when it's time for them to buy a laptop and they have, let's say, a $600 or $700 budget to... They've been sitting next to people on airplanes with these. They've been sitting next to people in conference rooms, and they'll go into the Apple store and they'll realize, you know what? I never really need to do 110 words per minute. I just need to answer emails. Mm-hmm. I don't need I don't need to run a huge software library. I just need 6 core applications, and there are at least 3 great examples of each one of them in the iPad library.
All right, we need to take a break. Hold on just a second. Dr. Kiki is in the studio with Alex Lindsay and Merlin Mann with me from GDGT. Ryan Block, we're going to let you go, but thank you so much for coming by. Really
Thanks.
great. GDGT.com. Want the iPad. Want. Tom Merritt's going to join us in just a little bit. Andy, if you'll stick around for a little bit.
I can stick around
because
for a little
it's
bit.
time to talk about Audible.com. Audible.com/MacBreak is the place to go to sign up for your free audio book from Audible. We love Audible. It's by the way, if it's iPhone 3.2, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to put your audible books on here, right?
If it's iTunes, it looks like almost exactly like the desktop version. I'm not sure. They'd be very spiteful to remove Audible support.
I think we got a new Audible device has just been born, and what better way to listen to books? Just whenever you're in a situation where you can't hold a book, you can't read. I like to listen to Audible books when I'm going to bed. It's like my mommy reading to me as I go to sleep. And it does put me out fast, It's a really great way to listen.
It'll bore you to tears and put you up. Yes.
You got to pick a boring book, not an exciting book. You'll never go to sleep at all. I want you to go to audible.com/MacBreak right now because it's your chance to get a free book. You'll sign up for the gold account. That's one book a month. That's not enough for me, but it's a good way to start. And pick any book from their 70,000 book collection. You get a credit toward any book there, and yours to keep, even if you cancel. So pick wisely. What did you listen to on the plane out?
On the plane out, I wanted to put it up.
I saw you looking.
I don't think you'll be able to see it, but it's Craig Ferguson's memoir/autobiography,
I can't wait to read
American
that.
on Purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm only about 3 chapters into it because I just started it during the first of my 3
Does he
attempts to
read
get
it
out of
in
here.
his Scots accent?
Yes, he reads it like this. And it's a little like Mr. Scottish Storyteller, only he's talking about how they used to have a little whip that they'd sell commercially for the schools in Scotland. And they'd bait me on that. Not only would you have to go up there, but you'd have to hold out your hand, which made it even doubly cruel. And then you're like, you know what? The pool at my school wasn't heated, and now I feel as though that wasn't a big hardship for me.
Craig Ferguson is one of I think he's one of the heroes of the late night wars, frankly. He just sat there quietly, did his job, and did, I think, the best late night television show
Every
of
single
all.
night. It's fresh, it's fun, it's unexpected.
I love it.
I think he's the first person since Letterman to come into that 11:30 to 1:30 time slot and create something brand
Fresh.
new, as opposed to we'll do Dave's show or we'll do Johnny's show.
Yep. I just think he's great. And this book, I actually noted it myself. I can't wait to read it. It's Craig Ferguson. It was American by Choice.
American by Choice. It's him in an American flag kilt. I'm sorry, American on Purpose, the improbable adventures of an unlikely patriot.
That's our pick of the week. So go to audible.com/MacBreak right now. Sign up for that gold account. I can't believe you haven't done it yet. Come on, get going. This is a great book to start with. I'm telling you, though, once you finish, you're not going to want to stop. Audible, it's the best way to listen to books. Audible.com/MacBreak. We thank them for their support of MacBreak Weekly. Leo Laporte here. We're in front of the now rapidly emptying Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, where just about an hour and a half ago, Steve Jobs introduced the iPad. It's a special edition of MacBreak Weekly. Here with me, Andy Ihnatko from the Chicago Sun-Times and the Celestial Waste of Bandwidth. Back in the studio, Alex Lindsay is holding down the fort. Are you sitting on the ball, Alex?
I am sitting on the ball. In fact, right now I'm bouncing on the ball. You got to be careful about the ball. I haven't had to do this like you have as long very often, and my legs start falling asleep. They get that kind of numb. But I'm soldiering through here in the studio, along with Kiki though.
Got to keep up.
Right.
He's getting his inner thigh sweat all over your exercise ball, Leo. Buy a new one.
We've got to hose that down. Remind me. Also in the studio with. Actually, we gave Andy a big bottle of Purell and a kosher Coke.
And a bottle of
A Mexican Coke. Oh, look at that. Oh, Tom Merritt to the rescue. Tom Merritt's here.
I'm going to have a daughter just so that I can have her marry you for this. Thank you.
From Us Out Loud at CNET. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
Great to see you. Also in the studio, Merlin Mann via Skype. Merlin, we love you, Merlin.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Merlin.
Ivan, nice with the pad.
Hi, Evelyn, and Dr. Kiki Sanford, who is still using her Samsung NC10 netbook. Kiki, do you think this would replace that NC10 that you love so much?
I actually don't think that it would for me. It is the right size. The tablet is the right size, and the touchscreen display is something that is a definite plus that my netbook does not have. However, even though Andy was talking about it being a workhorse and being able to do all these great things, there's no multitasking. I cannot listen to Pandora while I'm working on, whatever I happen to be working on.
Yeah.
If for a media device, I'm seeing a lack of integration between apps and different programs running at the same time, and that to me is a problem.
Another big problem is that what you do with all the media that you're creating, like all the pictures you're taking, all the video taking, given that there's no card slot, there's really just no way to get that stuff off of your camera and share it.
Well, you sync
actually,
it, of course.
Andy,
you sync it.
There's actually a is in the on
They're
the
looking
specs.
at the website, so they have more
we have the advantage of the website. So there is
Also
in the
supports
spec,
that.
there's an actual accessory to do either a connection to your camera or an SD card straight into the computer or into the.
That is super awesome. Yeah,
Not live,
I don't think it'll be a replacement. But I agree with you, Kiki. I don't believe that's a replacement for things you'd bring a laptop for. It's just that there are times when I have these little 3-day jaunts where all I need to do is be able to write a couple thousand words and do things that are unitask sort of based. I mean, I came out here for 3 days and I brought the netbook and my MacBook. I could see a day where I brought the netbook, the MacBook, and my Kindle. And so in a world with the iPad, now I'm just down to the MacBook and this device.
In a world where the iPad is the only...
It's an iPad, it's a Kindle, it's a music player.
You make a good point, though, Kiki, but that's a very specific application. You probably can play music in the iTunes store and use the iWork applications, for instance. There may be some multitasking. It just has to be Apple-approved multitasking.
Multitasking limitations is the iPhone OS. Yeah, that is a negative right there, because you want this thing to work more like a netbook, work more like a laptop, and that includes multitasking.
It'll be interesting to hear Apple's future arguments against multitasking, given that now they have a device with a much larger processor, they have a device with a much larger battery, so that the two biggest arguments that they were making against it, now that all that's left over is that we feel as though putting third-party multitasking will destabilize the device.
It will let the terrorists win.
Well, but I think also,
What did they say?
I was going to say, one of the issues with the multitasking also is that the way the interface works. When you're using a Mac, I think a lot of times you know how many things are running, or you roughly know how many things are running. I think the one thing with the iPhone is that if it's multitasking, I think it's going to be very hard to know what's multitasking. And so you're going to have to build new tools that really allow you to click on it if it's starting to slow down. Because right now I don't know.
An app killer. You just have an app killer,
and
it's a simple.
But I think that's very. But that's something Apple
as
doesn't.
John Gruber has said, and as Merlin has said. They see that as a negative, that you have to have an app killer. I don't see that as a negative. I'm with you on that one, Kiki.
But I mean, it's sort of like saying, I wish we had more rosaries in the Protestant church. It's a totally different outlook on using your device. Like I said, if you're Stallman and you want to own the BIOS, well, then this isn't for you.
This isn't.
It never was meant to be. It never was meant to be. I mean, that's
because. They showed it in home situations. They showed it in sitting around. They had the couch on the stage. Like, they're definitely pitching this not for Andy, but for somebody, laying around the house. And then you take your iPhone and it syncs to that with the New York Times app and all of that stuff with the whisper sync type behavior, so that you can take that on the road. They didn't seem to be emphasizing the mobile aspect of the mobile device.
I might have been imagining it, but there were many stretches during the first part of it where Steve was demonstrating it, where I think he sort of forgot he was on stage. He was just reading something on his little toy device.
Playing with it.
Distracted.
I'm just wondering, though. I mean, is $4.99 a lot to pay for a giant remote control for my home media center? I mean, that's.
Oh, if that's all you're doing, though. But the thing is, I think that
a bit much.
I will say, though, that I think that this is the first Apple release where I could say this is perfect for my parents. This is as close to a laptop as my parents need to get. That they can.
Well, I thought the putting it on a dock and having it be a photo frame. Yeah. People pay for a 10-inch photo frame just about the same price.
There are so many things I got so totally wrong about what this device was like. There's only one that I can really latch onto and say, okay, I think I got that one. That's the idea that fundamentally, this is going to be a $500 device that's a color touch display and electronics behind it and a connection to a network, so that anything you want to do.
Siren.
It's still in the background. Don't worry about it.
Entourage, their motorcade when you leave.
So anything that you might want to do that requires a big color display, this will do it for you. Be it a photo frame, be it a book reader, be it a document processor. I think that's why they chose such an absolutely generic name for it, so that no matter what someone walks into the Apple store to buy, they can tell you, yes, the iPod is one of those. Was designed exactly for you. Because it'll be so generic.
Was it me, or did they seem to underplay the video capability? I mean, they talked about it, but is it because they didn't get deals to?
You got to think
something like that.
That was the rumor, was a $30 or $15 a month deal with the networks. you'd think they'd at least get Disney on board.
Yeah, they always launch with one partner with these things, and it's fine. They bring everybody else in later, but this time they didn't have anything new to say about video, so maybe that's why they downplayed it. I don't know if that was just a rumor that wasn't true, or if this is something we'll see down the line. I mean, they always like to roll these things out later, and with new devices that you have to buy and give you an operating system on the old one that it won't work as well, and we'll sell you a new one next year. So maybe that's what.
I was also pretty surprised we didn't hear any mention about textbooks, because you think about a market that's tailor-made for this.
And by the way, McGraw-Hill not on that list anywhere.
Somebody's not wishing we'd briefed our CEO a little bit better.
Yeah,
but you talk about the automatic sale. Kids, you're going to be $130,000 in debt minimum. Why don't you kite it up to $130,500 and put all your books on?
My
device?
kids' school, they matriculate. They come in with it. They get a MacBook, a white MacBook, when they get in the freshman year. I can totally see the school saving $500 and giving them this device instead.
And using it for courseware.
And using it for courseware. They're dying to put textbooks on this thing. And you couldn't do it on the Kindle. I'm sorry, the DX even doesn't do it because it's not color. I mean, look at a bar chart in black and white and forget it. This is exactly what they're looking for.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I was just going to say.
Don't you have this picture?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kiki. No, you're the scientist.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
This is something that you deal with.
Yeah, as somebody who's been in the educational system for an entirely too long period of time, this is a product that that's where it's really going to have its huge benefits. I mean, not having to carry around that stack of textbooks, it might kill the textbook recycling industry where people sell back their textbooks at the end of a quarter, but. In that way, and in the way that university level professors can use it to develop course supplementation and graphic interfaces in different ways for students to be able to interface with the information they're taking in. It's absolutely going to be beneficial right there. So that's something I am.
It's no coincidence that the last release of iTunes added iTunes U to the iTunes interface, and Steve mentioned iTunes U as one of the things on here. This is an education device, whether they sell it that way or not.
I'm excited to think about data visualization tools developed for this, like in a university setting where you can just simply play with. Here's a pile of numbers. Great, we've just slipped into this device. Mathematica times 4,000.
Although it was a 90-minute announcement for one device, so I can see why they dropped a couple things from the discussion because, man, we were looking at our watches by the end, like, okay, we get it. Give us the price, give us
the product.
Yeah.
Tell us, and now there's one under each of you for your seats.
And we don't and you get one, and you get
Alex and Kiki and Merlin, how surprised were you by the price point? When he showed $9.99 and said, the pundits say it's under $1,000, that's $9.99. We're going to sell it starting at $4.99. I tell you, I think we gasped in the auditorium. What was the reaction there in the studio?
We gasped as well. I mean, I think in one of the Mac breaks, I think I gave the range of either $4.99 or $5.99 up to about $9.99. I thought it was going to be $7.99, and the one that I'm going to get is very close to $7.99. But I think that the $4.99, as I said, I think it's a ruthless. I mean, just really well drawn out to make sure that there is. I mean, anybody going below that is really operating on very little margin or very little quality, and it's just going to be very, very difficult for them to compete, I think.
Yeah. I mean, just to the point about the price point, I mean, I really did gasp immediately because, of course, I was leaving off the fact that that's the low end. Still, I think under $1,000 is good. And let's toss out two other price points. I'm looking here at the, let's see, the Kindle 6-inch display, $259. To Dr. Kiki's point, the Logitech, there's a Logitech remote control that's $315.
That's right. The Harmony one is $3 or $4.
That's right. It's a Harmony. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, if we stop the straw man of like, will everybody from the first through third world buy two of these to put in every room of their house plus their boat? No. But will gadget nerds buy this? I mean, like crazy people, And I think, again, once they see this out there, the same way with the iPhone. I scoffed at the iPhone, well, mostly because you nerds kept guessing what it was going to be. But once I held it in my hand and used it, it was a whole different world. And I think people are going to, I think you can't underestimate how important that is. It does not happen with the BlackBerry, and it's not going to happen.
Top-level iPhone was $599 when it first came out.
Yeah, $599 when it first came out. But I think that its biggest impact is that Apple has just established an electrified fence at the $400 price point that the closer, no matter what your device does, if it's close to $400, you're going to have to explain to this consumer, why do you would not want to spend another $100 and get this? I think we're going to see a lot more sub $200 ebook readers. Those still make perfect sense. The $250 Kindle, I think, still makes perfect sense, because if all you want is an ebook reader, it's a fantastic ebook reader.
What's the top level price for the iPad? Is it $829? Is that right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking $899 for the top level. Wasn't that far off. And I think that's the one, like you were saying earlier, everybody's going to want to get. They want to get the most storage and the 3G.
Yeah. I disagree. I think there are a lot of people who will buy the $499 one. I think, for instance, I'm going to buy one for my mom so that she can get the pictures on the picture frame, and then if she wants to do some other stuff, she can do it. I'm going to get the I think a lot of people will buy a 16 gig Wi-Fi only. I think that's a good product.
I honestly think that the 16 gig Wi-Fi only is the equivalent of the 4 gig iPhone. I think it's the one that makes a lot of logical sense. But you're going to be in that store. You're going to say, for $139 more, I can have the ability to buy 3G when I want it without having to be locked into a contract.
Well, okay.
I think that's going to be an easy $130 for people to spend.
Yeah, but it's also, you know what it is? It's also the thing that keeps you. That's the thing that'll keep you from getting divorced. That's what it is. No, I'm serious. honey, I really want this thing. It's $900. But I'm going to get the one that's $499. And now you stay married.
It'd be okay, right?
Good logic there, Merlin.
that thin screen 50-inch TV we were going to get. How about 9.7 inches? What do you think?
Laugh, Dr. Kiki. These are important cognitive things to work on with your mate.
That's right. You have to have those negotiation skills down.
Sports, save up those fees. Come on, like he was going to play football anyway. He was just going to get hurt.
People are making a lie. I got beat up at CNET for saying that I thought the price was right on. Because I do. I think this is exactly the normal price for Apple. It's less than all their MacBooks. It's a little bit more than the minis, and it's more than the iPhone, and that's exactly where it should be. And I don't think it's that expensive for the device. Is everybody, like Merlin was saying, everybody going to go out and buy one? No, not everybody is going to go out and buy one, but no one ever expected everyone to go out and buy one. Are people going to look at this and say, yeah, that's worth $500, $600? Yeah, I think so. I think that makes more sense than the $600 iPhone did.
Yeah. And we're going to wrap this up with final thoughts in just a bit. Kiki, if you'd hold that thought, we're going to come up and each of you will go around the horn and give each of you a chance to kind of sum up what you think this big announcement of the iPad means as we continue with our special edition of MacBreak Weekly from in front of the rapidly emptying, soon-to-be deserted Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, unless the circus is coming. I think the circus might be here, in which case we might just stay for the elephants. Meanwhile, though, I do want to thank our great friends at Citrix who have provided the wherewithal to make this incredible setup with our satellite truck, our 15 cameras, our huge suite of interns.
And thank you for the catering. My God.
I know. I mean,
I'm sorry I loaded up on breakfast because, wow, I'm filling up a bag.
Unbelievable. And we couldn't have done it without those great folks at GoToMeeting. Now, the next time you're thinking of business travel, you might want to think about GoToMeeting. Save some money. What's the average cost of a ticket to go visit a client across the country? You got the airplane ticket, the hotel, the taxi cab, the food, not to mention the stress of sitting in the middle seat, taking off your shoes at the security line. That's worth $1,000. GoToMeeting, $49 a month for unlimited meetings. That's so easy to set up. In fact, if you go right now to gotomeeting.com/MacBreak, you'll have it set up before I'm done talking. It's that quick. It's just a tiny little bit of Java that you download. Now, anytime you want to have a meeting, you can either use Outlook and send them an invitation that they just click, or you can even be on the phone. By the way, GoToMeeting comes with voice over IP free and free teleconferencing. So you're on the phone, you're saying, God, I really want to show you this mock-up I did of the iPad or how our new application is going to look on the iPad. You say, do this. Go to gotomeeting.com. I'm going to start a meeting right now. All you have to do is go to gotomeeting.com, click join a meeting. Here's the meeting ID. They're seeing your computer on their screen. I mean, it's kind of a little miracle. You can even collaborate together. You can work together on a document. You can give them control. So it's great for training. And they can take control so that they're showing built into that little 200 kilobyte stuff. I want you to try it right now. Go to gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. Let's have a race. Go ahead. You go there right now. I'll wait. Gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. Install it right now. I promise you're going to love it. You can try it free for 30 days. No cost, no obligation to you. And if you don't like it, send me a note telling me why. Maybe we could put that feature in the next one. Gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. Let's start with Merlin Mann. Merlin, your final thoughts on this big, big day.
It's pretty. It's very pretty. No, I mean, again, I'll be a business douche because I'm not qualified to do that, but I'll do it anyway. I think this is a continuing
Business douche, a Quinn Martin production.
Act 4 epilogue.
The streets paved with.
I'm no Carl
A little
Malden.
punchy here.
All right, so here's my thing. I'm gonna say it one more time. I've said it 7 times. I don't care. I'm gonna say it again anyway. This is a company that is not afraid to define its audience. This is a device where they are getting clearer and clearer about being really courageous about saying what they want to make and for whom, which I got to say I have a lot of respect for. That's something I care about a lot. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch. You think about, like I said, the way they pushed the VARs out a few years back, the way the retail store people got pushed out. I just think it's going to be very interesting to watch the response of the people who make things for and related to all Apple stuff. Especially the developers. And I had a gut feeling, we mentioned off air, but I had a gut feeling that I wonder if a lot of the problems with the developers with getting stuff onto the store in a timely manner, right, getting approved, I wonder if some part of that was that they were implementing new stuff and didn't want to have to do half measures along the way. So I think it's going to be really interesting to watch what the developers think of this. And I think it's going to be really interesting to watch who ends up having one of these a year from now. I think it looks great. I'm not going to buy one, but maybe when it goes down, it's more stuff. But
you said that with the iPhone too. We'll send
somebody
you
gave me an iPhone. I wouldn't have bought one. But no,
I know that's what we're going to clearly have to give you one. Merlin, man, where should people go to find you besides the great You Look Nice Today podcast, which we all love and cherish?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know. Read a book. You don't need to know about me. Just go out. You can Google for me or merlinman.com. Leo, I like being on here. You should have me on here again. This is a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me today.
Dude, we love Merlin. Okay.
I didn't know
Next
you wanted
we'll
me
see
to.
you.
I didn't know.
We love you. We love you.
We love you, Merlin.
I love you guys.
Oh, yes, we do.
Kiki, Dr. Kiki, Kirsten Sanford, your final thoughts on the iPad.
My final thoughts are that I think for Apple's introductory iPad, their first out of the box tablet, it's a good start. I think it has a lot of room to grow, but I think it's a good start. I think that in terms of its usability and where it's going to go and how it's going to be influential is going to have a lot to do, again, with the App Store, the same way that the iPhone has been. So in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, in terms of business industry, we're going to see it all depends on what developers are able to do in the app environment and how people are able to implement those. Right now, though, I mean, I personally probably would not get one yet. I need to see more functionality and more workhorseness. But it is pretty, and I'll borrow my friends, maybe.
So 2 people aren't buying it so far. Alex, Lindsay, you've been... Oh, by the way, you could find Kirsten Sanford at This Week in Science at twis.org. And, of course, she hosts Dr. Kiki's Science Hour every Thursday at 4 p.m. 3 p.m. on the Twit Network, live.twit.tv, and you can listen to that on our iTunes feed, or just go, it's easy. All you have to do is go to twit.tv/Kiki, and you get all the recent episodes. Easy. Thank you, Kirsten, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leo.
Alex Lindsay's been sitting on the ball since like 8 a.m., I don't know, a long time. Alex, your final thoughts on the pad that is I.
Well, I think that it's a lot of what we expected it to be, and I would have bought one. I would have put my money down 2 years ago. So it's I'm not. So I think it's and as someone who was going to build one of these, I had to do all the business models, and I think that this changes everything. I think that it is and Apple did it. Apple's the only company that I think could have done it at the level that they're doing it, with the iTunes integration, with the iPhone already there, with the history of that, with the history of all the other pieces that they have. There's nobody else that could have done this. And I think that they put out, as good as a first effort that you could possibly put out for a device like this, especially at the price point that you're looking at. I think that, obviously, I think it makes a huge difference in ebooks, but I think that you're really looking at something that I do think it's going to replace the laptop for a lot of people. I think that there's going to be a lot of people who with the keyboard. The keyboard, I think, is the key piece of this. But with that keyboard, I can see myself not going out on long trips, but going out in the afternoon, going out. I mean, there's so many times where I take my laptop, I don't need it. You know, and being able to have one of these, I'm looking at having a big computer at home, a big Mac Pro at home, which I have, and just not taking my, you know, and getting rid of my laptops. You know, because I just, you know, when I go out, I'm just going to take this much lighter little piece. And I do think it's the perfect thing for my parents. I think that the real issue is going to be stuff like Flash is going to have a real hard time with if it's not able to get on this device. I think that and I don't think they're going to need it because I think there's going to be a lot of interactivity already built into it. And I think that it's just once people start buying into it, like with the iPhone, they're embedded. You know, and getting them unembedded after that, I think is going to be very difficult. So it's exciting, I think, for Apple, and I can't wait to have one. That's all I have to say.
So far, we've only sold one though, in that whole crew.
No.
Studio.
Actually,
I don't know if this
I'm going to buy an extra one for Kiki and Merlin. You know,
so we sold 3 out of 3.
Yeah, I'm buying 3. Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Alex Lindsay is at pixelcore.com. That's that great core of multimedia artists who are learning and then working in the business, and it's a great place to go to find out more about all of this wonderful stuff that's happening in content creation. Go to pixelcore.com for a membership. Pixelcore.tv, of course, is where his podcasts live. Such great shows as This Week in Photography, This Week in Media, and more. Pixelcore, PIXELCORPS.
And by the way, Leo, just as someone in the industry and someone for, you know, as talking about our members, this is a massive gold mine for content producers. I mean, this is it's hard to describe how big of a deal this is for us. This is the biggest business that we're going to have in the next decade.
How rarely do you get a new platform like this? This doesn't happen every day, especially a platform so dedicated to content. Tom Merritt from Buzz Out Loud, CNET TV. What do you think? iPad, and would you buy one?
I'll buy one because I buy these things. I don't know how much that says about the product because I like to try this stuff. But I think it's risky for Apple because when they went into the music player market, there was a market there. There were already MP3 players, maybe not that many, but people wanted one, so they knew it was a safe bet. When they went into phones, there definitely was a market there, and even a good market for smartphones. So they knew it wasn't as big of a risk. They just made a really good one. This is not a market. People have been trying to make tablets all the way back since the 70s, and unless you argue that PDAs or Palms or something like that is a tablet, nobody's really been successful with a tablet PC yet. So I think this is a bigger deal of whether they can convince people that they need this or not. It's not something that people immediately go, yeah, that's a hole I've been looking to fill in my life. It's more of an enticement of like, hey, you may not have realized it, but this would really be fun for you. This would make your life easier. So I think this first round, we'll see it integrated with the Apple fans, the people who use the iPhones, the people who use Apple TVs. And then a second round, they'll add a few more things. Maybe we'll finally get background processes. Maybe they'll do a deal with Flash. I doubt it. But they'll add some more stuff. And the second round will get a little more. And it'll be like the iPhone, where now you see iPhones everywhere because we're in the third generation of them. So I think it'll build slowly. I just don't know if it'll ever build to that crescendo somewhere above Apple TV, but below the iPhone.
We can catch you on Buzz Out Loud, bol.cnet.com. And CNET, is it CNETlive.tv? Is that?
Live.cnet.tv, it's live.cnet.com or cnettv.com.
Okay, got it. We're so close to the end.
I know. Okay.
Hang out to the end. Come on, EVO.
Okay, go
Come
for
on.
it.
Okay.
Just don't move.
Yeah.
Tom is also the host of Eats Meets West, which is 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time every Sunday, right after Twit at live.twit.tv.
Yep, commentary about stuff.
Roger Chang, I love the show. No tech, just like the stuff people who are into tech care about.
It's supplementary.
Yeah, it's supplementary material. It's a sidebar on the Twit Network. I love it. Thank you, Tom. Andy Ihnatko, your final thoughts. I know you're going to buy one.
I'm definitely going to buy one. I'm probably a typical consumer because I was thinking if this is $500 or $600, that's possible. If I put up for a year or two.
How much did you save?
I put aside $650.
Perfect.
I was that was one of the few things I was right about in my predictions.
You have a little left over.
I have a little left over for pure living and pure thoughts.
You think it's a good product?
I think it's a great product. I think it was. I was expecting something a lot more advanced. I was expecting more of that sort of like prophetic. And of course, now we've reconceptualized the operating system for the tablet. But Apple, I think, is making the clear statement that look, when we designed the iPhone operating system, the touch interface, we designed it to scale. We thought about it really, really carefully, so we don't have to teach people how to use a new device. As a matter of fact, every single time handling these iPads in there, if I got stuck or lost or couldn't do something, every single time it was because I was trying to make this. I was forgetting that you do this exactly the same way you do it as on an iPhone. So they're just past 2 or 3 years, content delivery, app design, user interface. It's exciting because maybe they just got it right the first
Today at about 8:30 this morning, the sun has come out to shine on the Yerba Buena Center here in San Francisco, the aftermath of Steve Jobs' announcement. I have to say, in my opinion, I think this is the product that Steve Jobs started Apple to make. This is the product Apple wanted to make all along. The technology finally caught up. This is what Jeff Raskin was thinking when he said we're going to make an appliance computer. We're going to call it the Macintosh. This is what Alan Kay was talking about when he talked about the Dynabook. This is, I think, the product that Steve Jobs has wanted to make his entire career, and I think this is an incredible cap to an amazing career. I believe that they've created a new category and a new product, technology that gets out of your way, technology that looks good, feels good, that you want to use, that you don't think of as technology. It just works. And I think this is a category that is going to explode, to be honest with you. I think this is the next big thing. I'm Leo Laporte. We thank you so much for being here for our obsessive compulsory coverage of the iPad announcement. We apologize for the technical ups and downs, the occasional that we got from, if you think about it, but it's amazing. This
live video and audio to hundreds of thousands of people based on the same little gizmo that businesses to download the email from their mistress.
It's really just meant for email.
Back to work. Break time is over.